with our fourth episode of Single Chat. And Matthew, can you pray us into this?
I sure can. So Lord, I thank you for our time tonight in in this discussion. Bless the people who are watching this whenever they watch it. Bless us as we record it, and Lord, let it glorify you, and let us speak wisdom and biblical wisdom in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
When you think of the two, we kind of wanted to like give a brief definition of them. Like dating uh, has bad connotations to it. Usually you hear like playing the field with it, or just dating just for fun. But basically, usually dating seems to be more recreational in its approach, and just like trying to figure out who somebody is. Whereas courtship is usually either connected to you found who you're going to marry, or you're going towards marriage, or you're very intentional about who you're going to marry. So I look at dating as kind of dating should be like a stair step of, and then going up to courtship, meaning that, you're in the process of dating, you're getting to know people. That's the process of you getting to know somebody. Like you see somebody and your friends, and you go out get coffee, go hang out with friends, and you're together, and you're kind of starting to get to know each other. And then over that period of time, you find out, you do I guess you get to know somebody, and then you say, you know what, I know what I want in a spouse. They fit it, so let's actually take to the next step, and then you court them. That's the best way to do it, other than just like diving right into courtship and you've never really got a chance to know them, and you just hope you figure it out in courtship, which that's kind of an extreme view, although some people would do that. Like, I don't know them at all, I'm just going to go straight to courting them because it looks like it will work, so we'll just make it work. That isn't right. And then also, it's not right to just date around just to have fun, just to have somebody by your side, and then have no intention either. So I think friendship is very, very important. I think we should make dating the friendship part of like, hey, we're getting to know each other. We go out, get coffee, and not in the worldly sense of, Netflix and chill dating, or one night stand dating, or, let me just date everybody that I can find dating. I think Christians should take dating to a point to where it doesn't have the connotation of that, but like, hey, it's friendship, we're hanging out, we get to know each other. And then if it gets to the point during that process that you see that we're really compatible, then I think you should take it to courtship. So that's just my perspective on it. Each person has their own. So yeah, that's just kind of how I look.
Gracious, you have a thought on that?
Define dating as bad. I think, like you just mentioned, it's more about what your intentions are and how you approach it. I've heard a lot of people, when you present the word dating versus courtship, it's like semantics, right? Because it's all about how do you handle yourself while you're in that relationship, and you can date with purpose, which is essentially the same thing as courting. But from what I understand courting to be, it's kind of just entering into an interaction. I'm not even going to call it a relationship, but it's interacting with the opposite sex, but with intention, and knowing what your end goal is, right? So you are starting with the why. When I'm approaching you, when I'm saying, hey, miss, or hey, sir, whatever, whoever starts the conversation, you know why you are engaging in the conversation. And it's because, you are looking for a mate that you can eventually settle down with, right? I think it's important, and I think you kind of alluded to that, Matt, that it's not, you don't go in it with like, this is my husband or this is my wife, but you are going into it like open to exploring the possibility, and then assessing whether there's compatibility in that aspect, so that's kind of how I see it. What do you think?
Great. I actually can see it that way. But for me, the way my outlook works, I see everything analytically. My mind's always trying to figure out everything, what's going on around me, why is it happening, whatever. So with relationships, I see a tier system, like a step or a level. And what I see is almost like a, ironically, poetically, like a wedding cake. Wedding cakes usually have more than one tier, and I see the actual wedding itself as the groom and the bride on the very top tier. So imagine if you had like several layers. The first layer is introduction, because I don't know a person. So if I want to do anything with them, I have to meet them. So there's introduction or interaction. First interaction with people, then you have meeting the person that you want to talk to. Then that that gives you friendship. And then from friendship, you go into relationship. Well, you have a relationship established if you have a friendship. That's a ship. And if you want that ship to sail to matrimony, you want to show your interest. So you are you're doing what I call intentional dating. And intentional dating for me is you are dating not knowing if you're going to necessarily marry the person, but it's kind of like courting, but it's more like um, courting I see as another level above intentional dating. Courting to me, from my perspective, means I have decided that after we've been dating for X amount of time, this is what I really want. So if I'm courting, that is to me, courting is super exclusive dating. If dating intentionally is exclusive dating, courting is super exclusive. Courting is uh, like if dating is basic training, courting is where I'm stationed, and the actual marriage is when I go to war. So so you start out where you have to enlist in a friendship first, then you go into the dating, which is basic training, and then courtship is when you are stationed. You stationed when you're stationed, you have your fatigues, you have your initial designation, you have what you are have signed up for, and then you may get a call, hey, we're shipping out to this country, that country. You're trained already. You passed basic training. You got your stuff ready to go. You just haven't been deployed yet. So marriage to me is deployment in that scenario. That's how my brain works.
Why are we describing marriage as a combat as combat?
Well, you also look at it this way. The devil hates marriage. So when I get married, I am joining my kingdom with hers. She has a kingdom, kind of like Bathsheba, not Bathsheba. No, that's wrong queen. Um, the Queen of Sheba and Solomon. She was already a queen when she met Solomon. Solomon was already a king. You have two kingdoms coming together. In olden times, two kingdoms will come together through marriage. And when they did that, their enemies despised them because they had suddenly erected a brand new kingdom with twice as much firepower.
All right. So go ahead.
Oh, so I'm going to kind of agree with you. I do agree that you have two kingdoms coming together, essentially like a merger, essentially for a marriage. That's why I consider it as, you're merging two separate lives, two separate whole lives as one, to build something together. To kind of backtrack, courting, I think with relationships, I should say, I do agree with starting out as like with a really good friendship. I kind of like what Matt said, like a really good friendship. You guys kind of hang out together, get coffee, and I do think that things kind of naturally develop from there. And I do think that if you both are just, you both know what you want and know what you want and are intentional, I do think that people can have a courtship. You know, I know there's serious dating, and I'm not against it or anything like that. I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with dating per se. But I think that if someone is, you know, is really wanting to get married in the end, they should consider being in a courtship with someone, which is basically, I would say, it's just more of an intentional dating. And there's more boundaries, you know, there may be more physical boundaries, more, you know, boundaries as far as just really setting the tone and the pace for the relationship.
If I was to give advice for like younger people, I think that dating is actually a good thing, for them to go out and meet new people, and know how to interact with the opposite sex and be able to figure out what they like, what they don't like. Of course, you don't, and with boundaries, because you don't have to get physical with the person, you know, to decipher all of that. But there's a certain, I don't know, I feel like there's a certain
Je ne
maturity.
sais quoi.
Je ne sais quoi, yeah. There's something that you get, that there is a benefit to being able to navigate, you know, communication and attraction and all of that with the opposite sex. And, you know, it doesn't, when you're young, it doesn't necessarily have to end in marriage, you know, because you're out there, right? However, I'm 30. Anybody got time for all that? I kind of know what I want now, right? Like, I've been there, done that. I know who I have a better sense of who I am, and I know what I'm looking for, and I know like where I'm at in my life. I don't want to waste time, you know. And so I don't need to go out with the person who's still trying to figure out, you know, what they like and what whether I'm their type, or you know, it's somebody who just wants to like enjoy my company because I've got things to do. Like, if we're gonna do that, I mean, there's nothing wrong with like a business outing or like a friendship outing, or if we're meeting together and we're like, okay, this has a purpose, we're coming together to discuss ABCD, or to work on this project, or, you know, stuff like that. But like, just spending time intimately with a person, no. Not for me. Personally, I need you to come with intention, you know. And it doesn't necessarily mean that like we're getting married tomorrow. It doesn't mean that you're marrying me, you know, at all. It's just being clear and, you know, transparent about what we're here for, and then proceeding from there to see whether we're a good match or not. I know some guys feel like that's too much pressure and it may scare them a little bit, but I feel like you're scared if you're not sure of yourself.
Exactly.
That's my take.
Well, I would say this, that when it comes to dating and courting, see, guys are very visual, and guys like to know where they are headed with the person, because in some cases, the way courting is described, it's like you go to a used car dealership, or just let's say a brand new car dealership, and you get in there and the showroom is dark because there are no lights, and the owner of the establishment say, hey, listen, give me your money, I'll get you your car, and you don't get to try another car. You just got to commit to this car. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I want you to just flat out commit to this one car. Well, courting in reality is intellectual. You discuss, you talk about what your intentions are, but as far as how courting is described by a lot of people in the church that I know, it's more or less that God's going to send you this person, and then you're going to fall in love, and you're going to just be whisked away, and with not a lot of time to reason or think. I consider that getting engaged on the spot.
Yeah, I think that's a a blender on the church's part. And for those who think like that, I mentioned before, I think it's courting is just time that you dedicate with the other person to evaluate each other. If you want to use the word dating, I've heard other people call it's called dating because you're supposed to be gathering data. Like from each other, to see like, hey, does this person, meet the criteria of what I'm looking for, of what I need? Am I able to give this person what they need, and so forth and so forth? Are we compatible, right? So you are dedicating a specific time frame in order to evaluate those questions without the emotional bonding and physical bonding that's attached with dating. Because I think with dating, we start calling each other honey, sweetie, I, honey bun, and people can spend nights over, and everywhere we go, we start hanging out, and it's just like you really create this bond, and that's hard to break. And if you're going to do that with a person that you don't even know, that's what I would call like really engagement on the spot. But courtship for me is kind of just, you're not giving I know some people say it's like full commitment, but I would actually say you're not giving your commitment. You're actually withholding that. And in place of the commitment, but what you are committed to is like the intention of getting to know each other. I read somewhere else where they were talking about how if you're dating, sometimes you can fall into this like humdrum of like, instead of like being intentional about really getting to know the person that you're talking to, it's just they become like a companion, and so it's just the conversation every day can like become, what you doing, how was your day, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but if it kind of falls, it doesn't evolve from that, because you're not really being intentional about getting to know the person, right? Whereas courtship, you're like asking questions like, tell me about your family, tell me about your upbringing, how do you handle this situation and that situation, and have you ever, like you are continuously vetting the person. So, and then I think then the engagement part is where you're like, okay, I'm done vetting you. I think this is a good thing that we can do. So now the engagement piece is where you're committing. That's how I would view it.